Hello again, and welcome back to Illegally Cited. This is Jesse, aka BGFH, and I am back for kind of another channel update video, and then I have another quick topic I want to talk about at the end here. Got a couple of things in the background here just for something for you guys to kind of look at while I do my little spiel here. Hopefully this won't be too terribly long of a video. But I just wanted to give you guys a quick channel update and then, like I said, talk about a topic that happened within the last 2-3 days or so. So, channel update. Recording this in the middle of November. What is it? November 12th, I think, today. And, so I've had a lot of videos come out in the past. Well, in October, I was cranking them out like crazy. Simply because I had actually a lot of horror content queued up, a lot of horror content recorded actually quite a while ago, and then I had some newer horror games that I wanted to cover, or VR experiences or whatever. So, I was releasing a lot of different things on Tuesday, Thursdays, a lot of times, even other days than that, more than just my Wednesday, Saturday schedule. So, I know some of the videos got some pretty good traction. Some of them got pretty good views. A few of them, however, really not a whole lot of views. So if you missed them, just go ahead and, like I said, just check out. And I did everything from, a little bit of VR content, a little bit of low vision spotlight stuff, and also did a couple Let's Plays and game coverage for some accessible games. We got some... one or two PC titles. We did a playthrough of Papa Sangre and the Nightjar. Like I said, I won't be doing sadly, I will not be doing a video, or at least a playthrough for Papa Sangre 2 or Audio Defense, simply because of the way my recording software works. There's a little bit too much lag to really make it work. And with iOS 11, I'm not sure that would actually stream properly anymore anyway. So just, to let you guys know, there has been a lot of content in October. We're slowing down, definitely. Gonna mainly be keeping to my Wednesday, Saturday schedule for a while. Maybe a bonus video here and there. But that's where we are. Beginning in November here, I've actually covered a lot of the major titles that I'm going to be covering for the, typical fall flood of games. Everyone loves to release titles in October and November, and most everything that I really want to play, except for probably some indie stuff or, kind of under the radar games, I've probably pretty much covered. Did a video for South Park: The Fractured But Whole not too long ago. Wolfenstein 2, I highly recommend that video doesn't have enough views yet. That video, or that Wolfenstein 2, it's not, the old Wolfenstein. This came out in October, and October, and it is just that game, man. And after I recorded the video, when I recorded the video, I actually was a few hours in, but man, I almost want to do another video for Wolfenstein if I can go back and play through. There's a couple of segments in the middle of the game Wolfenstein 2 has this really crazy thing of, like, it straddles the line between, like, really dark and grim story stuff, and then on the other hand, it's completely batshit crazy, and it shouldn't work as well as it does, but it works. You have the stuff that you said. If you haven't watched the video, go check it out. In the beginning, like, you start out as just a complete wreck, and then you're in a wheelchair for the first little bit. You have a flashback to your dick of a father, who is just, I won't spoil anything, but watch the beginning of the game that I covered in the video. And as I said in that earlier video, I was hoping that it would pay off, and it does, man. There's a scene probably about halfway through the game that just goes from like a flashback to a current event to just complete, as I said, batshit crazy, a twist that I really am glad I didn't have spoiled, because I was like, wait, what? What just happened here? And it tied into gameplay, it tied into the story, and it was just insane. So Wolfenstein 2, very cool game, and if I can replay it, I might just try to cover that middle portion, because it will be enough to where, like, if you've seen the original Low Vision Spotlight, you'll see some of that kind of stuff pay off, and just see where some of the crazy places this game goes. One game I'm not able to cover because I don't have any hardware for recording console games other than the Xbox One, thanks to Windows 10 streaming, thank you very much. I am not able to cover Super Mario Odyssey, and that is a game that came out the same day as Wolfenstein 2. And I started Wolfenstein 2 first, and I just got hooked, and I finally got a chance to try it out toward the end of that weekend. And I've been playing the heck out of it the last 2 days again here. And man, I do wish that I could cover that game on the channel, just because it's a great game, but also because, you know, I've complained about Nintendo's lack of accessibility, especially for console-wide stuff, you know, being large text or magnification or speech output, lack thereof. But Mario Odyssey actually does have kind of some accessibility stuff in their game that is kind of helpful, actually. And it's cool because right when you start out the game, you don't even have to like know about it and go into options later. Right when you start out the game, it says, hey, do you want to play this in like a traditional mode, or do you want to play it in assist mode? And assist mode, it really doesn't change. Like, you still have to play the game. You still have to do everything that you would normally do as far as game mechanics go. But there are some things that help simplify things. So one thing that it'll do is whatever your kind of current or your major objective is for each kingdom, you'll have these little blue arrows on the ground pointing you in that direction. Now, if you see something off to the side and like you don't want to follow the arrows right away, you know, they'll still be there. You can go ahead and, you know, like, oh, I want to explore this little, little cave over here, or this little area off to the side. You can totally do that, and then just get back on course whenever you want. So there's that. Then there is, normally in the normal mode, you get 3. Basically, when you get hit, you know, like Mario games, you used to just, you know, run into something and you die, or you shrink, or, you know, depending on the game, how the mechanics worked. Now this time you basically have 3 hearts in normal mode, and in assist mode that ups it to 6, so it doubles. And another thing that it'll do is if you stand still, if you're playing in assist mode, you stand still for about maybe 3 to 5 seconds, and your heart gauge or your health will basically fill up automatically. So let's say you get hit a few times, you fall off a ledge a couple times, and you come back and you're down to 1 or 2 hearts. You just stand still for a couple seconds and boom, you're back in the game. And a couple other things it can do is, if you are jumping in a level and you misjudge a platform, or you fall into a pit, or you fall into some goo or lava or whatever it is, it will put you at a very recent solid ledge. It might be the last ledge, it might be 1 or 2 ledges back, but not very far. So even in regular mode, in standard mode, you're not really punished. Like, there's not a limited live system like prior Mario games. Basically, you're collecting coins the whole time, and you are, when you die, you actually lose 10 coins and then are set back probably to your last checkpoint, or like your last door that you opened, like if you go into a sub area. But in assist mode, you're not even penalized that much. You'll lose 10 coins if you fully die, but even if you don't die and you fall in a pit, like instead of putting you back at the checkpoint, they'll put you at one of the most recent solid platforms that you last landed on. And that actually has been helpful in some areas, simply because, and it is kind of a low vision thing because, depending on the camera angle or there's been a couple areas where there's been like fog or, some other kind of color contrast issues that make it a little bit tricky to discern where you are going to land. And I've miscalculated some jumps or something like that. And, if I would have had to keep going back pretty far and then just keep going, through, it would have been a lot more tedious, but again, if I have trouble judging some of the jumps or where I'm going to land, it's actually been really helpful in a couple areas. And as far as I know, the final thing that assist mode does is when you're underwater. I went through an underwater level, or a largely underwater level, third or fourth level in, and normally you would have to breathe. You would have to find these bubbles, a la Sonic games. You find the bubble and burp, you can breathe again. Well, if you have assist mode on, it doesn't matter. Like, you can breathe underwater, or you just won't have to worry about that particular time limit of having to find a bubble to get more breath again. I mean, you can take over like a cheap, or, with your little hat mechanic, and then you can breathe underwater anyway. But if you don't do that, like just being able to swim around as Mario and not have to worry about breathing is actually really nice, because that, honestly, be it a Mario game or not, as polished as it is, I mean, underwater levels are just never. I can't really think of a game, and I've said this in other videos, I can't really think of a game that I've really liked the underwater levels. I mean, swimming in games is okay at best, but never really all that enjoyable. I mean, that being said, the swimming in Mario Odyssey isn't too bad, and like the graphics are good enough. I mean, the graphics in this game are actually really colorful, really beautiful, really sharp looking game. And, prior consoles, like the water would look kind of hazy or foggy. Now that we're able to render things a lot better, the water can be clearer, and it's actually kind of a lot easier to see. So, you have things like that. So, yeah, some people would probably call me a wuss. Oh, you got to play it the real way. Well, you know what? I have limited time. I'm working a full-time job, doing this stuff, doing some other stuff on the side. And I just want to come home and enjoy a game. And, like I said, with some of the visual, depth things and things like that, I'm actually really glad that the assist mode is there. I mean, I'm still doing all the, I'm doing all the platforming, I'm doing all the jump, the challenges. I mean, there's still some areas that are really pretty challenging. Sometimes they'll take your cap away, so you don't have, just like in Mario Sunshine, where you'd have those little bonus levels where, it was all about pure platforming skill. You still have that kind of stuff. And so, I just unlocked the level after New Donk City, but I gotta tell you, New Donk City, you've seen that in the trailers where it's like a fake New York based on the Donkey Kong stuff. I got some notification here. Let me close it here. But it's just really fun. It's just a really fun level, and there's some stuff. There's just been a lot of little instances in that game where you're just kind of smiling because it's just really fun and kind of funny in a way. I like the whole premise that, yeah, Bowser has kidnapped the princess again, but not really your typical kidnapping. This time he's going to go one further, and the whole gist is that, yeah, no, the reason he's going to all these different lands is because he's trying to get different objects and different things for his wedding. Yes, him and his weird band of rogue wedding planners his goal is to marry the princess in this one. So he's got this like white pimp suit on. It's hilarious. Um, you know, it's just a fun time. I wish I could play it. I wish I could show it on camera, but as of now, really, I can't. So I just wanted to at least tell you about Mario Odyssey because, um, especially since it has some of that assist mode, and that could really be the difference between this game being really playable or very frustrating for somebody. So I definitely wanted to talk about that here. But yeah, as far as like a lot of the November games, like your Call of Duty and your Need for Speed, and I don't even remember what a couple of the big, Assassin's Creed. I I don't think I'm going to be getting any of them, at least not for a while. I mean, I played Call of Duty 4. It was amazing. Played Modern Warfare 2. After that, I really kind of stopped caring. Didn't play it for the multiplayer anyway. I played it for kind of the single player story stuff. So I really don't cover Call of Duty games in general. I've got my shooter fix with Wolfenstein. Awesome game. Um, Assassin's Creed, I'm not really all that interested. I mean, I kind of like the idea of, just running around and climbing on buildings and exploring and stuff. And I might pick it up on a sale because there is actually some new mode. I don't remember what it's called, but in this particular mode, you can play it in where you're not really, I don't know if you're not really playing through the whole story, but you can kind of play it in like a tourism mode. So like they're taking ancient Egypt, and instead of playing the main story, like you can actually just wander around through the buildings and all, through the different environments. And I guess you're going to be given some sort of like a like a nonfiction kind of a history sort of a tour thing. I don't know to what degree or how that works. I'm going to look into it though. That actually sounded almost kind of more interesting than your typical, different way to play the game. And so maybe I'll check that out at some point. The classic Need for Speed games, like a few of them I used to really love. Like the ones where it was focused on, I think it was like the original Hot Pursuit or something in the late 90s, man. You're being chased by cops and they were just deploying spike strips and all these things. Those were fun. Then they had the one right after the Burnout games that Criterion did, which was pretty good. But, as it gets into drift, all this street culture and, Fast and the Furious crap and drifting and just all this, just this other style, I really don't care. I've said it on Twitter a few times. We've got the backwards compatibility for the original Xbox stuff coming in. I did grab Ninja Gaiden Black. I'm definitely going to cover that on the channel at some point. But what I really, I'm really, really, really hoping that they release Burnout 3. Give us Burnout 3. Burnout 3 Takedown was freaking awesome. Closed circuit racing. You had a crash mode that was awesome. But the best thing about the race is that any opponent, you could just basically sideswipe them into the wall, into another car, or just jack them up completely. And like you were really encouraged to do aggressive driving and just taking the, kind of like in Maximum Car, that type of system, and it's just so much fun. Be it a remaster or just crank out the original, sans some licensed music issues. Even if you have to change a little bit of that, I'm totally fine with it. Just give us that game because I want to play that again really bad. So yeah, I mean, I've got tons of videos queued up, some for VR, some for games, some for accessible games. Lots of stuff here. We're at 870 right now as it shows on the left there on my channel page. So hey, if we can make it to 900, I was thinking, oh man, how cool it would be to make 1,000 by the end of the year, but I don't think that's going to happen unless we get some huge influx of people. But if I could say, we've got about a month and a half, we could we could hit 90. Illegally cited could hit 900. So, spread the word and let's make it happen. Let's give it a shot. Now, before I talk about my last topic, I do also want to let you guys know that this week on Wednesday evening, actually it would be, 7 o'clock Central Time, 7 p.m. Central Time. It will be archived as well at a later point, but I think I had mentioned it on the channel. I know I've mentioned it on Twitter a few times. I'm actually going to be doing a presentation, a webinar presentation type thing for hashtag ID24. You can use the hashtag ID24 on Twitter. But I'm the second presenter. This is they've done this a few different times, but this ID24 is a 24-hour marathon of a bunch of different presenters that will present on various aspects of inclusive design and accessibility. So, I'm the second person. I'm the second presenter, and I will be presenting on VR, virtual reality accessibility for low vision users. So the title of the presentation is An Illegally Cited Look at VR Accessibility, so tying into the whole illegally cited thing. But I've got a presentation all made up. I got to do maybe a practice run through or two in the next couple of days. But I will be presenting that on the 15th here this Wednesday evening. So if you guys want to check that out live or follow me on Twitter, Twitter is at BGFH79. For when the archive comes up, what I'm also going to ask is, as we are doing it, I'm going to see if I can record on my end through my stream. So I might be able to get my version of it uploaded, pending the permission from them for me to be able to do so. So maybe I'll be able to put it on my channel at the same time or ahead of time or whatever, as well, the archive of it. So we'll see how that goes. I won't promise anything, but that's ideally what I would like to attempt. So yeah, presentation on VR accessibility through hashtag ID24. Should be interesting. Kind of nervous, but I've been doing this YouTube thing long enough that as long as I can try to keep it under the time limit, I think we'll be good, and hope it will pay off, and developers and platform holders will actually take notice. So before I wrap up, that's kind of a channel update on what's going on right now. Plenty of videos to come, and we'll be doing our typical end of the year thoughts eventually, and just miscellaneous. Keep on doing some stuff. So the other side of the screen here, the right side of the screen, is a post on AppleViz. I was going to do a video of this on Thursday or Friday, but I kind of decided to wait because I really wanted to get a little bit more information, and I didn't really know how I wanted to talk about it. But we have had an update since then, and with some better news. So originally on, I want to say Wednesday, I didn't find out about it until Thursday morning, but the developer of these kid-friendly software, the developer of these Blindfold Games, I've covered a couple of these on the channel so far, and I have a few more recorded that I was going to start releasing some of those again here pretty soon. There's a lot of iOS, a lot of iPhone, iPad Blindfold games. I knew there were a lot, but what I didn't realize is that he said he's got like 80 of them out there. I had no idea there were that many. I thought maybe 30, 50 maybe, but he said it's something like 80 games out there. And so what I found out is on Thursday morning, he posted this initial post on the right here about him not being able to continue the Blindfold series of games. Basically, Apple had put in some new restriction to developers where basically, and I get where they're coming from, because they're trying to cut down on like game clones or spam, or you got one developer that's just cranking out a bunch of shovelware, crapware. I mean, God knows there's enough of that on the App Store as it is. I don't know if hopefully they can tighten some of that up. But, okay, so you've got this Blindfold Games. They've got like 80 games out there now. Each one of these is basically its own game. So, on first glance, yeah, it looks like, okay, we're just shoveling a whole bunch of crap out into the wild for people. But Apple, the restriction is saying, hey, wait a minute, you guys, you cannot make, we're going to block you from, you're not going to be able to make updates to your existing games or to be able to release new games unless you can take some of your content and basically rebuild them to use far fewer apps. So basically, like, maybe I have a puzzle series, and then you can download an app where you can buy in-app purchases, or maybe to do all the puzzle games or racing games or word games or card games, whatever's kind of, that's probably how I would split it up. But this is basically one guy. It's one guy, one developer that is doing these. And the cost that it would take for him to do that, and the payout, the benefit that he would, or more importantly, wouldn't get, kind of really wouldn't make it worth it. But as of, I want to say early this morning, I checked Twitter this morning, and he got an update. Everyone was saying, oh, well, we're going to contact Apple Accessibility or Apple Feedback or, whatever. I put a thing out to Apple Feedback and Apple Accessibility just to be like, hey, I'm just kind of look into this because, this is, I kind of explained the deal from the user's perspective. But Apple did work with him, and I guess he's going to be able to continue updating and making his games. That being said, I'm really glad. I'm really glad he's been able to, or that he will be able to continue updating and making new games because, he's one of the few main game developers that are making accessible games for blind and low vision users on iOS right now. But at the same time, especially knowing that you have 80 games out there already, that's a lot. And let's say you are a blind user and you really, really want to get into blind gaming. I don't think you really want to download 80 games. That's a whole bunch of games, man. Eventually, I totally could see, at least going forward, if he's going to create new titles, to kind of make some sort of different launchers that he could then put new and possibly existing games into. Again, make these different kind of bundle packs where maybe you download the core menu interface and say, okay, these are the 10 games that I have for card games right now. These are the 7 games that I have for word games. You download the word games launcher, and then you look at the things and go, oh, okay, well, I will try that one. And, they have their whole coins system, so you could try it. And then if you wanted to buy it, or if they do a subscription to one of those game packs, maybe he'll do a subscription model. I kind of would like to see actually some consolidation into some of those, have a word games one, have a arcade, because you got like Frogger and Pinball and, like a Space Invaders one. So you could have like an classic arcades pack, all kinds of different things. So you could find some good logical ways to split them up and consolidate them, so that, people can pick and choose which, types of genres or which types of games, accessible games, they want to be able to play. So hopefully that does come into, hopefully that is able to happen over the long term, as he is now able to continue. So I'm really glad that Kid Friendly Software is able to continue making these games and updating them. But I can see it from both sides. I totally understand the amount of time and the amount of effort. Most people think, oh, well, You got these 40 games in there. You got these 80 games. We'll just make a little menu thing and just copy and paste them in there and make a menu. It doesn't, it's more complex than that. I mean, I understand that there's more to it. It's not just copy and paste things into a little thing and then give it a menu. There is more to it than that. So, some people just might not understand that. If they've never really worked with programming or anything like that before. And, he also did mention, he kind of went through on some of the costs later on. It's like, oh, okay, well, if I make this and, this is what an average programmer would make, he's doing this on the side, knowing that he's not really going to make much profit, but he likes doing it. And, he gets, you get a lot of benefit from, okay, we get a market that's not really being served these types of games. And again, I've said this before, I know he even said that, well, I understand that, most blind people are on a fixed income. And I would argue that you're not on a fixed income. I'm on a fixed income. Everybody's on a fixed income. It's just that my fixed income is a salary. I'm working. I'm being productive. I'm contributing. But I'm actually, I'm earning a salary for my work. Now, you could say you're on a limited income or a low income. That makes sense. Because, if you're on SSI, you're making peanuts. You really can't even, I don't even understand how people do it or want to do it or can do it right now, because you can't even, even where the city where I live, I couldn't even afford rent, let alone anything else if I was just getting SSI. But not to get too sidetracked, but just kind of getting back to, I've said it before, just to be willing to contribute and pay for the games. And, he gets the feedback of, why are these games so expensive? They're not. If you were a fully sighted user, and playing mainstream games, most like a AAA game, Wolfenstein, Mario was like 50 or $60. I can't remember. Wolfenstein 2, again, $50-$60 game, pending any discounts or, pre-order bonus sales or whatever. You got your smaller indie games, Road Redemption, that, I recently covered that one. South Park is, and again, that's another $60 game. Road Redemption, the smaller indie titles, smaller 2D platformers or whatever, those are, $15-$20 if you're not getting them on sale. So, no, these accessible games, oh, God forbid, they're $10-$20. You get a PC version, some of the ones like Audio Rally Racing, or some of the couple that are, a little bit more expensive, $30-$35. That's perfectly reasonable. Again, the developers, they have to eat. They have to be able to support themselves and keep going too. You see how all these developers, like the Solara developer and something else, to name a couple, their funding market, it just didn't work. The way they were just hoping to exist on those types of things, and it just wasn't working. So, we gotta, I understand occasionally, like if he's doing a promo or something, or somebody's doing a promo to get their game out there. But, we gotta stop asking for, every time a new app or a new game exists or comes out and it's on AppleViz, can you give me a code? Where are the list of codes? Give me a promo code. I'm poor. I understand. I've been on a low income myself. It sucks. I hate it. But I worked my ass off to get out of it. But you just kind of have to save up a little bit, and, they are charging reasonable prices for these games. It may not seem like it, but it is, $5, $10, $15. That is totally reasonable for the amount of effort that has to go into making even a single game, and not just making it, but keeping it updated. keeping up with Apple's weird changes and OS updates and patches and quirks and voiceover stuff, all that kind of shenanigans. So there's a lot to it. I hate to sound preachy, but again, it's just, I want to see these things continue, and I love the trend of how more things are becoming accessible over time, not just on iOS, but PC and even consoles. Look at, the Xbox and Madden and all that. That's awesome. But I was going to do a blindfold game today, but I figured instead of doing that, I knew I was going to get if people watched it, I was going to get a lot of comments of like, oh, hey, these games, I don't know if these games are on sale anymore, or the developers quit making them. Do you know that? I'm like, and yes, I do. And thankfully, as of this morning, we got an update that says he will continue. So coming up here, I will probably, do a couple. I'm certainly not going to do all 80 of them, because there are several that are similar. You've got a bunch of card games. You've got a bunch of word games that are sort of similar. I'm just going to pick out the ones that kind of jump out at me that I want to check out and play, So, and again, you just look at some of these and you can go just look up the Blindfold Games for yourself and see some of the other ones that are out there for you. So that is an update, just like an update video on the channel. On this whole Blindfold Games stuff, it's just a really kind of relevant thing that's happened in the shall we say blindness community over the last couple of days. I'm glad it resolved itself, but again, and if I should also mention, if he does want to go back and, get a little bit of extra funding, I would not be opposed, like if he wants to rework some of his games into some of these game packs or something like that, to rework them, and you just can't do it without a little bit of extra assistance. Should he do a crowdfunding or a subscription type thing, those would be options that I would not be opposed to. If he flat out, gave some estimates and said, hey, I want to do an Indiegogo or a Kickstarter campaign, that might not be a bad idea. And, and if you, for the people who really do follow and like these games, not just saying that you like them, should he do some kind of crowdfunding campaign like that, definitely show some financial support as well. So we will wrap it up there. That's kind of what I have for you. As I said, there's tons of video content already out, and we're going to be slowing down a bit here now again. A lot of the events for the year are over. The month of Halloween and all the horror stuff is over. So we're going to kind of, and a lot of the major titles that I'm interested in have been released and have been recorded and that type of thing. So, we're just going to wind down 2017 here. And like I said, definitely go check out, again, the Wolfenstein video is really awesome. Some people, not as many people as I thought actually have checked out the Perception series, the low vision spotlight and the Let's Play for Perception. That is a first person horror game where you are playing a blind female character, and it's, it has its quirks, and I talk about it in those videos, but I would highly recommend checking that out because it's a really cool game. But yeah, just go back and, if you're a new subscriber or just haven't checked out on some of the videos, go check them out. There's probably something there for you. Hope you guys enjoy it. If you're interested, definitely check out the hashtag ID24 thing later this week. I will be doing my VR accessibility presentation. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Follow me on Twitter at BGFH79. And until next time, I will chat with you guys again later.